Something we talked about offline, I'd love for you guys to comment on is that you guys actually benefited from a lot of the I guess like the downturn in the big tech space with all the firings and a lot of those things. Can you talk about, your guys's how you fit into that overarching like employment puzzle?
I think there are probably two ways in which we benefited. One is from the influx of available talent, but also one is, it's kind of funny, like companies started doing cost cutting, right, in terms of people, in terms of projects. But sometimes what also happens is like they don't necessarily cut consultants because it depends what the consultants are focusing on. If they're like, oh, we have this whole team of full time people working on this project, maybe we don't need that many people on it. Let's instead just farm it out to consultants. It creates more work, right, for consultants. So not every like companies are not simply turning down and say, oh, we don't have any projects because of cost cutting measures. Like, fortunately, that's not how it plays out. I think to some extent it does for some kind of specific styles of consulting. But for us, because we tend to focus on stuff that has very strong positive ROI, like we just take on projects where it's like, okay, we can see exactly what we could do here, and we expect your revenue to increase by this much. We'll reduce this essentially manual kind of task and do an automated piece. An example being for Neptune Flood, our biggest client, like they have to manually read thousands of insurance claims, and they're incredibly long, like 100 pages. It's 100,000 pieces of paper to read, right? Instead, automating that using machine learning and LMs like saves them a ton of time. So it's just kind of an example of like something they wouldn't cut even if they were doing cost cutting measures. They're not. They're actually, they're doing very well, but it's one of the things that saves times either way. So it's kind of in terms of the projects. In terms of the people, it was kind of interesting. There were mass layoffs, but also the kind of change in morale at some of these companies, like at Google. And I do want to say, I did have a great time at Google. I know Glee mentioned this about BCG, and I do want to say it too. Even though we're talking about things and I'm voicing some complaints here and there, overall, great experience. If I wasn't there before, I wouldn't have learned the skills to run a company with Gleam now. But one thing that happened is certainly a lot of people got laid off and suddenly were working for work. Additionally, a lot of people kind of weren't happy with how many people got laid off, and all of the shakeups and the reorgs, and so they just quit. And so what we start to find is that there were a collection of people that were just very well skilled, very strong, that were both looking for full time work, but also many who were like, you know what, I want to do 20 hours a week. Like, I'm down to do that. I'm down to do it regularly, but I just don't feel like doing 40. And they would come to us. This is just people from our network, and we'd be like, yeah, not a problem. Like, we're a small startup. We can easily take on 20 hours of work a week, give it out to you. And then this just adds this kind of flex pool of people, a term Glee started, which I really like, that can grow with us. So like as we get new projects, those people that were doing 20 hours are sometimes interested in jumping up to 40 or turning into full-time employees. So we benefit both kind of from projects that opened up and from the people. So, I guess it's called, the mass resignation, or that was kind of almost before this, and then you had the layoffs. But in the end, it's just this mass shakeup. And I think as the dust starts to settle, people are settling into like positions that tend to work just better for whatever they were looking for. Obviously, that's not always true. Sometimes it's hard to find new positions because tech isn't hiring as much as it used to. But I think shakeups can be good in general, even if it takes some time to settle properly.
Yeah, it's interesting. I was doing a lot of research on contracting and consulting and those types of things for some other projects I've been working on, and there's a pretty aggressive uh, trend towards big tech companies hiring significantly more consultants and contractors. And I don't think that that's going away anytime soon, especially based on the nature of one, the economy, but also the nature of the entire field of data science and technology.